Question of the morning. What do you think of Utah's $500 million deal with an equity firm? A lot of raised eyebrows here, PK. Brent, sounds like professional AAA football to me.
Okay, but how is that any different? What's been going on? Ed Orgeron said the difference now is we walk in the front door with cash rather than the back door.
There's a guy who's worked.
I have been saying this for years.
There's a guy who's worked at some big-time football programs.
Yes, yeah. Obviously, he was at SC and
LSU.
And LSU, we know of that. And I always used to hear guys on radio, well, the players aren't getting anything. You're not a beat writer. You really don't know what's going on until you're a beat writer. At least in my day, when you could have access to practice and players. I don't know how it is now because I'm not a beat writer. But in my time, it was almost like daily you were fed information because they saw you every day. And they saw you on trips. They saw you in hotel lobbies. And you had so much more access.
That's when it really happened.
Than you ever, I don't know, maybe it's different today. And so you'd see things. And guys who I respected, I knew were paying guys. But it was understood. And pretty much everybody looked the other way. And so I don't understand how it's different. Now the difference is, Ed said, you're going in the front door. You're not going in the back door.
There it is. Chuck says, brilliance or desperation? Smells like the latter to me.
The latter, what's the latter?
Desperation.
Well, they're doing it because they have to, so I guess if that's your definition of desperation.
Todd says if it enables them to stop being subsidized by my tax dollars, I'm all for it.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Mixing publicly subsidized institution with private funding will be interesting to watch.
It will be. Absolutely, man. And I don't know enough about finances. Obviously, I'm a day-to-day guy, and I do well for myself. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I've done far greater than my parents ever even dreamed of. For that matter, my two sisters. And my sister has her doctorate and was a principal, so that ought to give you an idea of how well I'm doing. So I'm very grateful for that. But at the same time, I'm freaking clueless on money. The old lady handles every single cent. She can be embezzling everything I make, and I wouldn't have any idea, literally, right? My friends, we were going to go to Hawaii last year, and they said, we want you to come, we want you to come. I said, we can't afford it. He looked at me and said, how would you know? And he was right. So I come from a position of complete ignorance. So what I did yesterday was talk to some people who have some background in finance because I don't know a darn thing. I'm so ignorant. And they did have, I don't know if it was raised eyebrows, but they had questions a la Chris Hill yesterday. He sat right with us when this thing broke, and he has questions. And he knows about how to run an athletic department. He did it for 30-plus years.
The devil is in the details. What does that contract say? And there will be requests for all of these deals.
People keep saying PE. I always thought of physical education. I didn't think
private equity.
I had no idea that's what it was until yesterday. And they say that. And I do have some experience with private equity, not firsthand, but through other projects in the sports world that I've seen happen. One down in St. George has opened my eyes a lot here in the last 3 or 4 years because I've had opportunities to talk to several people. And the investors want money back. That's the whole purpose. And how many of these people are going to be Ute fans because they're opening up Ute fans an opportunity to invest, and they will have the charge of still having the emotional connection, but these other folks, there should be at least some who don't. They just want the money back. You go win the whole thing. Who cares? But they want their money back and a return on that investment, obviously. So how is it going to be? I can remember one time I was sitting in a meeting and the guy's talking about, ROI. I had no idea what ROI meant.
Return on investment?
I literally had no clue.
Yeah.
I had to ask somebody off to the side because I knew I'd be embarrassing myself.
Yeah.
And this isn't that long ago. To give you an idea of what I have when it comes to finances, I grew up with you go to work and you put your paycheck in the bank and you pay your bills and hopefully you got enough to cover it.
In the simplest terms, there used to be places people went for money. You went to the government, you went to a bank and got a loan. Now, with private equity, there are people who have so much money, they're looking to invest it somewhere. They've got to put it somewhere. So you go to private equity, and in the simplest terms, hey, I got a project. You give me this, you'll make this much back.
Right.
And that's why when I look at the U, I think, well, okay, what is that project? Because the department day to day with the way the arms race is going isn't throwing off extra money. They barely have enough money to keep going with the business. So what could they do that was new? And that's why I told you in the last segment. To me, it's the basketball arena.
You told me in the last segment?
Yes.
All right.
The basketball arena, or get them into a new conference that pays a lot more money. I don't see where else they'd be getting a pile of money all of a sudden. And these people are going to put some money in, but they're going to expect money back.
Yeah, but these people are not putting money in with the intent to help them get into the Big Ten.
Not because they emotionally want to get into the Big Ten, only if it makes it a bigger payday.
It could be the whack, whatever. If they get more money, and we'll see how this plays out. And then you guys are talking about tax stuff. And like, oh my gosh, that's so far out of my league. And they're not going to be. You're going to be. There's a big thing. I do know there's a big thing in Arizona that the state institutions aren't fond of Grand Canyon because Grand Canyon is a for-profit.
Right.
And you hear their advertisements all over the place. Mm-hmm. And, so they look down upon that. And there's a chasm between the two from what I understand. And I know people in the education field down in Arizona, obviously. And so that there's a thing there. Well, here it's not. So how's that going to play out? The PE stuff has opened my mind and my eyes a lot more in recent years, and that's largely been through golf. Have an opportunity now to play golf with some people who that's what they do, and it's so far out of my league. But to see how they think and operate, I've had some opportunities to hang with people, and that's what they're looking for, is to cash back. That's the whole purpose of what they're doing, and they don't make any bones about it, and I guess nor should they, because that's what they're doing. That's the business that they're in.
That's the deal when you walk into the room and ask them for money.
Well, if they want to participate, I mean, they're not asking them to volunteer. It's a business proposition that they're proposing. For what can get you in. And, I don't make any of that kind of money to be able to do that. I'm fine in my own little environment, but beyond that. And that's why they've got, and I've been fascinated by it. I mean, I don't run in those circles, but I've been exposed to those circles, how they do several things. They've got all these things going on here as I've been basically not the notoriety, because notoriety is a negative, but the
publicity.
Publicity is the word, because they know my job. My job is a public job, and so people talk to me in that way. And been able to be on the golf course and talk to them. I sat in a golf cart with a guy at Alpine Country Club, and just listened to him talk about all these things for 4.5 hours. And I was thinking, oh, my gosh, man, if my parents would have seen me now.
Big shot, talking to big shots, big piles of money.
Yeah, it's not, none of the money's coming my way, but listening to them talk about their investments and their advisement of other folks who literally make millions of dollars in the coaching world, what are they doing with their money and how does it work? And I know people in town who are, have made a lot of money, and what do they do with that money? And then they get with these people and they do, and this guy was telling me blah, 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 and it's like 20 different things. And so what are they going to expect in return? And essentially, what does it mean for the NIL? Because you can have a new arena.
But what does it mean for NIL? Because if you don't pay the players.
The Devils are losing Levitt because they can pay him, but then they don't have a team.
Right.
And so he's going to go get his cash, but they need the cash that they would pay him to outfit a team. You got 100 guys that you need. You at least need 50 guys you can count on in a given season. Right. And so they have to allocate that money and spread it around, and they think, okay, we may not have as good a quarterback, but we'll have a better defense, whatever. And so you can put in whatever, and you can go to the Big Ten But not everybody in the Big Ten is winning. Purdue sucks in football. And they've sucked for a good while now, right? So they're getting all that money, but whoop-de-freaking-do. What does it mean?
3 teams are in the playoff, 15 are watching.
And it's not about just watching. You can have a really good season. The Utes had a really good season this year. They're watching. But they're still a really good football program, and they had a really good football team this year. And I have no doubt in my mind, if this playoff was expanded to, say, 14, 16, 24, and the Utes got in, at least in the beginning, the first couple games, I would expect them to win. So they have a really good program.
I don't think it would have gotten in a 16-team tournament.
Well, whatever.
But, yeah, 24.
So totally hypothetical.
Yeah.
That whether they got in or not isn't the point. The point is that they have a really good football program.
Yeah. But to your point about the Big Ten, would you say that maybe like 6 teams in the Big 12 could say they had a really good season? There's a lot of teams taking their lumps.
Oh, when you're playing each other, that's going to have to how it's going to be.
Yeah. When you're playing some of each other, you're playing about half the league. USC, Michigan, Iowa might be happy with their seasons, but there's a lot of gnashing of teeth at a lot of schools. Wisconsin's bummed. Michigan
I don't
State's
know why
bummed.
you're focused on the Big Ten all of a sudden.
Well, you just brought it up about them going to the Big Ten.
Because you brought it up. I didn't bring it up, but it's not on my mind they're going to the Big Ten.
People of the U have talked about it, and you've heard it too, that at the end of the decade.
But we're not at the end of the decade.
No,
They've
we're
got
not.
5 years to go where they're looking to have really good football teams. And hopefully for them, really good basketball teams. And they've got a really good stadium. But that really good stadium didn't help them last year. So the facilities are nice and all. But what does it boil down to the money that you can go buy players a la Texas Tech? They went and bought players.
Well, the president and the athletic director can't talk about it yet until it's approved, which they've got a meeting coming up here. And after that, it'll be interesting to see how you're deploying this money and how is it going to make the athletic department better. And how's it going to make the teams win more?
What do you mean? Why can't they talk about it?
I don't think they can talk about it until it's approved.
Says who?
Says them.
Well, then they don't want to talk about it. I mean, is
Yeah.
it some federal law? Is ICE going to come into town if they talk about it? I mean, what are we talking about
I think it's
here?
more about how things work on campus. The regents decide. And then you can talk about it.
Well, he held a press conference about it
Yeah,
yesterday.
they talked about it. I mean, I talked to the president. He's a very affable man.
He is affable.
And he's talking just, I think, the last home game, talking about how expensive it is to run a program.
Are people going to keep? How are people going to keep giving this kind of money? And his answer: they're not. I think that's more a nationwide thing he was talking about than one specific. But it's just like
we've been talking about that.
Yeah, and he obviously talks to other presidents.
For sure. Oh yeah, dozens of them.
Right.
So, how is this going to help? Joe Fan, and I'm Joe Fan. That's all I am. Never played the game. Never had hat on hat. And I speak to the fans. I'm you that somehow got lucky to get this. And they want to have a winning football program. So how does this translate to them winning football games? That's all that matters. Because if you got all the money in the world and you're Purdue, who cares? And all you want to do is talk about basketball.
That is all they want to talk about at Purdue.
Right.
Football's depressing. Indiana used to be right in the cellar right next to them, and now Indiana's at the top.
And now Indiana, they want to talk about football.
And Purdue's ready to talk about basketball.
Yeah. And you go to any Kansas, like Arizona. Arizona, they have to be a men's basketball fan. Even if they hate the game or not interested that much, they have to be.
That's where the winning is.
Because that's what gives them the glory. Yeah. So how are you going to win? What does this mean for you to get, for Scally to get players to win? Because we're going forward here. And I'm not breaking any news, but obviously he's going forward. He's going to be the guy. And what does this mean?
Aaron says, speaking of fans, and you a man of the fans, Aaron, Utah ticket prices about to, and he's got the red graph emoji, going up.
Wouldn't that happen either way, though?
It's been happening, and I assume it will continue to happen, yes.
Because it costs a lot, and it's not going back. It's just a question of whether you have said, and you being the individual, what is your line? when do you say that's it? That's enough. This has gone too far. If I'm going to do this, I might as well just go to the Broncos, to the Packers, to the whomever.
Well, I've got a dear friend whose family's had tickets up there since the 70s that said next year's their last year. They're done. It's hit a limit they can't afford.
So everybody has that. And then for the average fan, because, they announce these sellouts of 52,000, whatever they seat up there. But obviously there's way more people watching. And not necessarily when, but if, do you get turned off by the direction that college sports is now publicly going? You just didn't know about it before, but now you know about it. You don't necessarily know from A to Z, but you understand the concept. And is that going to slow your interest? And
Tony, this is the slow end of college sports as we once knew it. Chris says it feels like we are selling out.
Selling out.
Brian, we still have to perform on the field.
Right, that's what the fans care about.
And Dave, I think I'm done with college sports. Peter, I don't like it.
Okay, but
up until now, as the money, it seems like a similar system or the same system, but as the money gets bigger to go to games, the stories I'm hearing from fans, and you're probably hearing them in your neighborhood too, is, well, I don't go to all 6 games. I sell a couple of them. I don't really want to go. I can get a lot for them, and so I can still afford them. Other people I've heard are splitting them, and I know people who've given them up who say, now I watch on TV, and if I want to go to a game, I go to the secondhand market and I pay for one game.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's way more interest than just going to the game.
Yeah, people are adjusting, slowly but surely one way or another as the price goes up.
Sure, but
other people are just paying it.
What does that mean?
Well, I think it means at the end of the K-State game, one end of the field is packed. It's not as expensive, the north end. And then the south end, which is the one they redid and was more expensive, was mostly empty at the end of the game. And it was a great game, crazy game.
You're focused on the 50,000. If you only got 50,000 fans, you ain't got nothing.
That's true, but those 50,000 are paying a lot of the freight. At home, I think people are still sitting at home watching. I mean, when you talk to people,
I don't know.
Do you have people you have plenty of Ute and Cougar fans in your circle? Are there people who used to talk about the games who don't talk about the games anymore?
Some. They talk about them because they know that's what I do.
But they no longer watch them.
They're not going to talk to me about the stock market because that's not what I do.
Yep.
Well, they don't. Their life doesn't revolve around it the way it used to. But they still have a modicum of interest.
It does bring up the question, what is your breaking point with college sports? We got people reacting to that. We'll get to it next. Riley at the top of the hour. Stay with us.